Detectives of Reddit, what was the strangest case you've ever investigated? Alright, detective now, but this happened when I was on patrol several years ago. Got a call to check the welfare of a guy whose neighbor hadn't seen him in a couple years. Why it took so long to report. But it was out in a rural area. Anyway, we roll up and the windows are black with mold and flies. Car is parked in the garage. No signs of forced entry. Breach the door and find said guy wrapped up in a phone cord beside a toppled chair in his dining room. He was mummified, melting into the carpet. Barely recognizable as a human aside from his shape and clothes. The smell of him mingled with the inches of stagnant water in his basement from burst pipes and all. The dead flies and mold. I'll never forget it. We also found 2 bags of groceries neatly packed on the floor in his kitchen. House was very tidy as well. No witnesses. Estranged from his family. Clearly had a cat, but we never found its remains. Medical record indicated he had a heart condition. My theory is he was having a heart attack and tried to call 911 but never got to make the call. Perhaps the creepiest part? His mailbox was overflowing with past due bills and cancelled utility notices. The last one was a couple months old. And it's still to someone that longed to call. An internal affairs case at a prison I used to work at. Though I wasn't with the Internal Affairs Bureau or the state's investigator's office. Holy shit, this was a fiasco. In the segregation unit of the prison. There was a very eccentric sergeant who worked out constantly and liked to sit in front of cells. And talk to the inmates about life for hours on end. He routinely went to the gym with one of the nurses who gave inmates their nightly medications. One evening, one of the inmates is escorted out for his insulin shot. He makes an offhand comment to her. "You going to Gold's Gym in any town after work?" The escorting officer reports it. As personal information of that nature is a security risk. The sergeant is instantly put into speculation and the nurse reports that they are gym partners. There are anonymous reports that he is having unscheduled, personal conversations with inmates in the cell house. People will not go near him. Fuck no. You wanna tell the child predators what school my kids go to while you're at it? Quote. A few weeks later. There's an allegation that the nurse was having an affair with the exact inmate who made the gym comment, but so far unfounded. So they ensure that none of the 3 people are in the same part of the prison while they investigate further. They need to rule out that this also isn't some form of retaliation on the sergeant's behalf. During the investigation, an oddity is discovered. The inmate lived several hours away, but was receiving Western Union money orders to his account from a relatively close gas station. They acquire surveillance footage. Sure enough, it's the nurse. She's been putting money on the inmate's books for several months under a false identity. During the routine pill line for general population, the nurse will be locked in a small, secure room with a pass-through for medications. It was revealed that she would hide in the corner and masturbate and expose herself when he came to the door. He intentionally violated prison directives to be sent to segregation because she told him of an upcoming change in the nursing rotation. They set the sergeant up as a red herring. She eventually resigned. And I'm unsure what legal action was taken. The inmate was moved to a different facility. Custodial sexual misconduct is treated as a very serious affair, especially given the strict nature of Federal Prison Rape Elimination Act laws. I was not the detective, but I assisted as the person who knew the most about technology. back in the 1990s when RAM sticks were about $50 to $75 per megabyte. Somebody snuck into a computer lab, opened up a dozen computers, and replaced each computer's 4 megabytes RAM sticks with 4 1-megabyte sticks. Nobody noticed. The time frame for the crime was sometime between September 1 and January 10. No video, no door keycards, no suspects. Not me, but my grandfather was a detective. He said one time he was investigating a murder case. The husband was being questioned for why he strangled his wife to death. His response was that she was having a seizure and he thought strangling her would help. He was given 15 years in prison. Not a detective, but something did happen in my apartment society. It's a gated society with 5 buildings. And one morning there was a huge crowd in front of one of the buildings. Turns out that a woman had jumped from the 5th floor into the elevator lobby area around 3 in the morning or so. One of my friend's dad was first on the scene, as he said that he heard a loud boom sound around that time and went to check it out. Here's where things get shady. The woman was living with her husband and Mill. And when people went to ask the Mill whether she could confirm that it was her son's wife, she looked over the edge of the 5th floor at the body below and said, "Oh yes, that's her," in a completely neutral tone. Local PD got suspicious and checked the lobby cameras for any clues. It turned out that the husband had tried to strangle her, rope marks on the neck, and then took her to the 9th floor and dropped her. The piece de resistance? The camera showed her slippers dropping a whole 5 minutes after her body hit the ground. The husband threw her off and skipped town. And a background check revealed that this was his second marriage, and there were rumors that him and his mother burned his first wife alive. For a solid month or so, I had to escort residents to their homes because people in that building were terrified of what could happen.